Alright guys, so this is the final part of the program, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. So this is the point where I'm just going to sort of go over some of the things we do, again using live examples. So just very typically, so you come into the stock for the first time and you want to analyze it and you want to make a play. First things first, we are going to determine where we are in the cycle. Can we identify a 5-wave count? Now we kind of can, so that's step one. Okay, so now we hit a climax. We can identify the climax point and high volume, and that should take us into an AR. So we're going to define that trading range. So this is an opportunity to see this all from step one, and with this stock is Facebook. Right, so and by the way, I've already done this trade. So this is a trade that I did, and this is a trade that I actually advised one of my clients into. And when everyone was panicking about the story, the Facebook story with Cambridge Analytica, that's it. I was saying that this is the greatest point right now to start considering buying Facebook, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with me, and probably there are a lot of guys out there who actually made the same decision. So that's the first thing I want to identify. So I find my climax. So very quickly, I'm going to type in here climax. And I've also identified my high volume, right? So you want to do this, right? It's good practice. It looks like hard work, but if you're stock investing, it's really good practice to get your head around this, just so you can do the relevant safety checks as you go along, right? So so now I know where my AR is, all right? So that's my automatic. This is actually a 1-hour chart of Facebook, by the way. So this would have been a really great call. So that's my AR. So I got my automatic reversal. Now it's very possible that you're going to see the AR and then you want to buy on the test, right? So I've actually got an ST right here. So that's my secondary test, right? And that takes us in a phase B. So if you notice, there was no spring this time in Facebook. Remember, markets are not linear, they're cyclical, so there's always something going on a larger frame. So this could actually be an AR on a much bigger frame, right? So we just have to bear that in mind. But for now, it looks like accumulation on this frame, right? So that's my ST. Right now, most importantly, at that ST point, I can see also that there's high volume, which tells me that that was a significant amount of demand down there as well. So it was not supply because of the way it's located. So that's not something that we would even debate. And I've got my high volume here. So I've got two forms here of high volume, and that's my ST. So at this point, right now, if you're not smart enough or you're slower and you don't pick up on the fact that this is the AR and you're on your return to 150 a share, you should be a buyer, then no problem at all. So we register in an ST, right? Judging from what happened with Facebook, there would have been a slightly longer accumulation. So we had an ST, which is great, and then we powered back down again. So now what I would have been expecting is that we might end up pushing a TSO, right, which would be just at 148. But either way, it is a good buy anywhere back on a retest of 150 with those lows. So I would actually want to buy the lows exactly where the market bounced off at that point, right? So this would have been a great buyer for me. So I just set a limit order there and say, well, look, I'm happy to take anywhere at that range. I'm not greedy, so I wouldn't look out for the TSO, right? I can see there's an ST here with high demand, so we might not be able to push it. And as we do these final STs, we can actually see that the volume's depleted, which tells me that the market is now ready to move, right? So that we should be in a different phase, right? So let's try and define these phases. So if you remember, the AR and the climax and the AR consist of phase A, right? So it doesn't matter where this lands. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. It's just to give you like a guide and idea. So that's phase A. Right, and in phase B, obviously post in the upside secondary test and the sort of lower end STs, right? So that's my phase B, right? Right, so I'm down here somewhere with phase B, right? So I should have been buying in phase B, right? But let's say I wasn't, so this is phase C, right? So phase C is quite small, and it will normally, we'll find the LPSs there, and I should start seeing my sign of strength, okay, in phase C. Right, so that's phase C. Now phase D will be rather brief, because what I'm now expecting is we're now in phase D, right? So we should look. Whoops. Actually, so what we're going to do is just give you an example. I'm expecting we are going to do this, and I should get a back under the creek situation, right? I might not, but that tells me stocks that I really don't want to get into and ones that I do, right? And then we should come out of there, and then that should move us into phase E. So we got phase A, phase B, phase C. So this is a well mature move now. So we're very late on this, and this is how you know you're late, because at this point here in phase C, we already started to show signs of LPS, right? So last points of support, right? LPS. Right, now, the thing to note here is I'm looking for my sign of strength, and I can see that here, right there. So that's my SOS, and that came in D, phase D, right? So, oh, there we go. So that's phase D. Now, to be honest, some traders may well extend their phase C, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Is if you encompassed all of this as a phase C and then looked for your phase D here. That's not an issue. Remember, you know, this, you're not going to get this, like, there is no prescribed 100% I'm right sort of situation, okay? It's just what it is. So our phase D should put us here, right? So the next phase we should be in phase D, right? So we got our phase C, we're phase D now, where we should be looking, our last point of entry would be 160, right? And we don't know where this is going to distribute. So from 160, my estimation is we should get about 173. Thereabout should be rather comfortable, right? But that's where we expect ourselves to be as we develop, right? So just and this will be the final phase. So we got A, B, C, D, and phase E is the final phase, which is actually the markup. Okay, so when we're in phase E, the move is gone. It's away from you at this point, right? You can get in on phase E, but it is away from you, right? So that will be our phase E, and it should encompass the markup. So that's my opinion on Facebook, right? So this is a live one, and if you look at what's going on here now, you can see there's actually more signs of strength. However, it's on the high side, so I'm guessing that the stock will pull back into the creek, right? So we've got more SOSs, right, as we develop. And this is how, and so if we look at the volume trajectory, it is one of Horizon 1. Right, so this is how we do our analysis, all right? And this is how we identify the phases, and this is how we build into them, right? So going forward now, this could mark up quite heavily, right? So it could even mark up as high as $180 a share before distributing again, and it could also be part of a bigger play, right? So just again, markets are not linear, so you are going to get a cyclical effect. So it could be part of a bigger play, wherein, like I said, it could have been an AR, and then we could be back down again, and then retesting some lows. Even though we're distributing, we're now reaccumulating again, and then we can start a much major markup, which will then take us to maybe over $200 highs, okay? But we don't know that yet. The bottom line is that we're working within our horizon based on what we're witnessing, which deals with climax, etc., etc. And just be aware, markets are not linear. They are cyclical in nature, which means that other traders are acting out simultaneously, and they will create a cycle effect. So there ends the course, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it very much. And I've incorporated everything I can, and there will be future courses, and there will be topics that we expand on. If you guys have any suggestions, anything that you want to know, you'd like to see, just hit us up on email. If there's anything that you enjoyed, you think we could do better, again, let us know. I hope you really enjoyed this. We do our best here for traders. We want guys to go in and become proper investors. It's not just about trading one asset class, or, you know, buying into what the brokers are saying, or any of that stuff. We want it to be a miracle story for traders who are coming into investing, and they get a great place to come in and learn. All right, so guys, like I said, be nice. Any questions, just let me know, and I love you guys. All right, so beyond that, enjoy. Thanks a lot.